This is Fireside Leadership, where we explore leadership lessons that lead to personal and professional success. Here are your hosts, Janice Lee, Lisa McGale, and Leanne Nugent.
I'm Lisa.
Leanne. Welcome. And we are in part 2 of our career development series. We're very excited to have Leanne bring this idea to us. So if you watched the first session, and it's okay if you didn't, you can always go back. We were talking about, how do you uncover who you are? What is it that you like to do before you start launching into this? I got to find some other role or job. The important thing is to really figure out who you are first. This awareness around what you enjoy and what you like. Now, this session, out of that, we actually recommended that you go and check out a bunch of assessments. You probably come back and collected a lot of data, and now you're like, what do I do with all this? Right?
Yeah. 100%.
And in this session, what we're going to help you clarify is how do you take all those pieces of what you've discovered about yourself into some sort of, how do you communicate it to others? How do you communicate it externally? How do you put it together in an organized way so that it makes sense to people when they ask you, so what is it that you like, or what do you do in your career? Right?
Yeah, and then we were saying that if you can't articulate what you do and what you like to your family and friends, you're not going to be able to do this with your potential boss. Definitely a really important thing. So call it an elevator pitch, call it a branding statement, call it whatever resonates more with you. But really, this is just a succinct way of putting all the data that you collected into a meaningful and tangible statement or framework.
Correct. So the value to that really in the clarity of collecting all of this information and putting it together, it will really, in my opinion, allow you to get to where you want to go a lot faster. You'll be able to communicate to, again, your friends who may know other people that you are potentially interviewing or networking with. They're going to know exactly what you're about, what you're looking for, and maybe in the way that you're communicating that information, discern whether or not you'd be a good fit for the organization.
And I think part of that too, that's really important, is you don't want to, let's say you are feeling unsettled in your job and you go out there and already without doing the self-reflection and this check-in, you're just possibly going to get the same job with the same crap that you have to put up with, and you hate it again. What's really important to you? And I think if you do this work beforehand, you'll achieve a role that's more fulfilling.
And I think one of the things that does come out of doing these types of self-assessments is you determine what your core values are. So I know that we were talking about that earlier.
Right.
There could be a lot of things that are important to you, but usually coming up with a small short list of things like what is important to you, not just at work, but in general, that kind of drives your behavior, drives the way you think about things. Pick maybe 2 or 3 things. And do you guys want to share what your values are, or the things that come up for you?
Yeah. 2 or 3 is really good, because narrowing it down from the 100 values possibly down to the 2 is near impossible. So my 2 are wisdom and helpfulness. And if I was to squeeze in a third, it's freedom.
Very nice. Lisa?
2 schools of thought, one from Brene Brown. My first is faith, and then gratitude. And then with Dr. John Demartini, the values factor, the top line is always relationships, and then business and travel and learning kind of move depending on where it is. However, top line is always relationships. So I think it's really important to say, depending on where you are and what time of your life and what is happening, they may slide a little bit. And so I think you had mentioned also this career check-in is really important. So we'll touch on that a little bit later. So Janice, your values, are you?
Sure. I did a values assessment through Human Performance Institute. That's more of like a corporate leaning value system. And I had 5, but I'll lean it down to 2. One was openness and the other was excellence. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's really hard to choose. So, because some of them, the other one that came close third would probably be connection. I almost factor that into that's a given, go-to behavioral thing. And I think that's why it's hard to choose just 2. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm happy with my choices.
So do you want to talk a little bit about to do it regularly?
Yeah, one of the things that, in Adam Grant's Think Again, he recommends a career check-in. So even if things feel good, you're happy with everything that you've got going on, you should still do a career check-in. Am I still going in the direction that I wanted to go in? Am I doing it with true choice? Am I really enjoying myself? Is it taking me to the places that I want to go? I think it's really important to do these check-ins on a regular basis. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then we talked a little bit about the difference between, when you are communicating this information, when we are talking about communication, we were talking about a brand statement. So the understanding or the difference between brand and themes.
So now that we know our values, what does that mean? So you know
Right.
where you're coming from, you know where you're operating from internal. Now let's talk about what that means when you're, again, going out into the world. And so you were talking about brand and theme, or theme first and then the branding statement.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about theme, shall we?
Sure.
So what is the definition of a theme for you?
So one of the branding exercises that I worked with was called How to Fascinate. And it was more around, in my distinct value, I deliver something. Or if you need something, I can do it because this is my superpower, if you will. So we were able to determine what exactly were our super strengths, and that's what I translate a theme to be.
You want to share?
Well, I have to remember it because I had to write it down. You're given these adjectives. So I'm an avant-garde, and in my distinct value, I deliver dashing insights. So that's one. So you can make them short and sweet. If you ever need anyone who delivers forward-thinking insights, I can help. Even when things get tough, I promise to give commendable sincerity. That was a weird adjective, commendable. But if you're like me, you want somebody who can give enterprising thought leadership. And then those were the themes. And then from there, you determine what your branding statement is based off of those
Themes. Got it.
And in a way, when you put yourself in that kind of language, you start becoming more comfortable with, you build your confidence.
Right, because you're clear. And I think that's really the theme of this particular episode is you have all this data, you're getting clarity, and you're building your confidence. So how about you?
So my theme is more of like a statement, and I guess it's more of a position that I take when people ask me, like, what is it that I do? And to answer that, so this is kind of still a work in progress.
Yes, of course.
I was trying this out on you guys not that long ago. So I say that I'm guiding high performance individuals to become a leader of leaders.
Right.
And that encompasses, that could be a lot of things, because I'm not saying what I do. Ultimately, I'm saying, like, this is what I support or what I stand for, and this is where I'm in that direction. So a lot of things for me, feels like I can still do as part of this theme. So I'm not pigeonholed into, like, I only do
Correct.
one thing. And I think that's what the beauty of themes are. They're not telling you, like, you're not saying that I'm this role. You're saying that I'm about this thing, and this is what I want to support.
Right.
Yeah. So what about you?
So my journey was a little different with themes. I've only started playing them recently because although I've probably been one of the beta members of LinkedIn, I really haven't played much in that space and was really operating unclearly, just like what I loved, what I was doing, throwing things up in the air. And so when LinkedIn became a thing that I needed to focus on in order to, and I never really even looked at it as career development. I kind of just looked at it as it was a way to communicate with people and see what others were up to and share whatever was like deep down in my core, very, very, I guess, important. So the themes that came up for me were humanizing STEAM. So that's, science, technology, education, arts, and math. Because those are, I think, important things for our infrastructure in the world, and yet the human part of it, right? Like none of those things are driven without us as humans. And I think as AI takes over and automation and all that, we still have to be there, right? The other one, obviously, as an entrepreneurship and leadership, they were kind of going hand in hand. And then the last one was fellowship. I think, again, tying into my values with DeMartini, where relationship is more important, and also the fellowship part of, from the faith-based perspective, is just moving with that confidence. So while I had that confidence, I didn't have the clarity to speak broadly about my personal stuff. So individual silos, like the businesses, I can speak specifically to them.
Right.
However, if you were to ask me what I do, hey, I'm around to help you. What do you need? Right. So that I, like Janice, still a work in progress. Like you've already got structure. I'm still leading into that.
Right.
So themes can mean a lot of different things.
Right.
It can. And I think like part of it, like that was, so that last statement that you said is more about the type of person that you are, and the items that I was regurgitating, I guess, were also like, how am I showing up? Like, what kind of person am I that's grounded in my values, grounded in what I believe in, that ultimately humanizes STEM, that ultimately works towards fellowship, that ultimately focuses on excellence. What was your thing again? Openness. But then what was your statement that you said again?
Helping high performance individuals become leaders, future leaders of leaders.
Right. Yeah. So that is almost like a deliverable of what you bring forward to the world, right? And I think that that's really good. And like, I'm always transitioning mine. Like right now I'm helping field service leaders transform their business, right? And if I can just say it in that short sentence, the paragraph that I wrote it's a paragraph and I can't remember it.
Yeah.
And so if it's not like this, then you got to dial it back. So for me, really that's really ultimately what I do is I help field service organizations digitalize their businesses, and it incorporates so many things. Like there's so much mindset, there's so much attitude, like appetite for change, and moving from paper-based and just assigning one person to do the task all the time. It's not really a scalable approach. So how are you going to grow and scale? Right? There's a lot of elements to it, but it's an umbrella.
Exactly.
So just grounded in that umbrella, and everything that falls underneath it,
is the theme.
Exactly.
Right? So your theme, so I don't even have a statement. You two have statements. So I guess my point to our viewers and listeners is there's never a right or a wrong. It's just where are you in the journey, and our goal here is to support you through that.
Correct.
In career development as a leader of self and others. So that's really powerful. So any other things that you want to talk about themes? I know this is a big one because it leads into branding.
I think we've covered themes pretty well. I'm interested to hear, Leanne, I know you've kind of done this exercise already. The next, if we go deeper one level, we have your themes, which is, the things that we talked about. Now, how do you get into the idea of like personal branding or having a brand statement? I know that you spent some time doing this.
Yeah, I think it just still boils down to all of those elements of values, like who am I? What are my superpowers?
Yep.
It takes a lot of practice, and then you bounce it off of people and you say, when I say this, does this resonate with you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So and then at some point you have to have courage, and you just got to go out there. So it takes a lot of iteration.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's an answer or not.
Yeah.
But it's a step, right? And you just have to start taking them.
I think that's the answer. Is like it is practice, because even though I've clearly communicated what my themes are, I still don't have a very succinct thing to say in one statement, because for me anyway, in my world, it depends on my audience.
Right.
Right. So where you are exclusive to Salesforce, and that is where your theme of your brand is being channeled, where am I putting my talents and gifts could vary based on who I'm speaking to.
Correct.
Right? So I think just by way of the three of us talking, there's never, again, a right or wrong, good or bad. It's just where are you in this journey, right? I'm comfortable right now not having a statement, because at least I have my themes after 20 years of being in career, air quotes, right? So I guess my question to both of you is, because you do have a very clear statement, for those of us, myself, that don't have one, although I'm clear on where I'm at, do you feel I should have one? Or those that don't have one should have one?
That's a good one. Personally, I think if I didn't have that focus, I would be everywhere.
Yeah.
I had, so 2 conversations. So for those leaders out there who are recognizing the statements that you've said to me, thank you. Like Roy Kent, I'm here, I'm there, I'm every fucking where, is something that you got to be very careful of. So, you show up in all these places and they're like, I have no idea what this person is doing.
Yeah.
What are they actually going for?
Right.
So if you don't have a very clear directive, and maybe you just do it for a year, just pick a lane and bowl and just go on that path, you're going to be scatterbrained and no one will know how to help you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say that.
Okay.
I would also err to the side, the same as you, Leanne, for maybe different reasons. I think when you have a clear theme and you know what you're interested in, what you're supporting, it puts you on a path that when opportunities come your way, you can see yes or no.
Oh, yes.
Because what happens is, and I'm speaking from personal experience, is you become good at a lot of things. You can be really great at a lot of things. And because people see that you're good at those things, they continue to give you those things. They don't necessarily know whether those things are in line with what you want to actually do. So you end up working a lot because it depends on your personality. Like, because mine has always been around excellence, I always want to do well regardless of what I'm doing. Even if it's something that it's maybe my heart's not 100% into it. So the clarity around me being clear on my theme has helped me hone in on what projects do I want to take on in my, I used to call it spare time, when I have time for myself. And am I carving out time for myself to do those things because I know it's in the direction of where I want to go? I think it's a slippery slope when you start taking on work because you're good at stuff and not because you actually enjoy doing it.
I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
I would say yes to everything, right? And just thinking that saying yes will help get me the promotion, or saying yes will help get me whatever the next job was.
It's an illusion.
And you just keep spinning and spinning. So in the way of integrity, we're talking about this. Like, you just keep working harder.
Yeah.
And it's not getting you any progress. It's like, if I'm trying to chisel a piece of stone with like my phone, am I going to break the stone or am I going to break my phone?
Yeah, that's an oldie but a goodie. Franklin Covey, sharpen the saw. That's exactly what you're talking to. So what's interesting is, although I don't have a very clear-cut statement for myself, I have them for the individual brands or people that I'm working with. And I definitely do not say yes to everything because I'm very clear against my values. And I'm going to throw intuition in there.
Yeah.
Where does this feel right to me? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Maybe have conversations with God about, what my next best step is. I definitely do not say yes to everything. So again, I think when I asked the question as it was exiting my mouth, what do you think I should have one?
Yeah.
It is really an individual choice. And
I think
and
so.
I think for people to know that it is individual, as long as, again, you have the awareness and in the silo that you might be operating in.
It's a personal choice.
Yeah, 100%. So even though I do not have a concise statement about what it is that I personally do, I definitely have statements towards different roles that I play in my life and the different brands.
Yeah, but I just want to challenge you because I bet you can't, because you just have to go one more higher level up, because you're like a holding company, if you will.
Right.
And you won't start a business if it doesn't fit into your broader value system.
Yeah.
So
I think
you
that's
do
where the
have
fellowship
one.
comes in. I think definitely that's where the fellowship is, and mine is universal breakthrough. I'm very clear that everyone is capable of doing it. It's about customizing what it is. So stay tuned, folks. I'm going to figure this out using the tools. I see Janice wants to say something.
I was going to say, Lisa, I think you internalize, you already have a bit of a brand statement on your own. You're not externalizing it and communicating to others, which is, I think that's the only difference. You're already doing the work internally, but what does it take to bring that to the surface so that, one, it cuts to the chase faster. Like, if people can see it on your website or whatever tools you communicate to potential clients that are working with you, then they'll know, like, it cuts maybe that conversation down even by one.
So we were talking about themes and personal brand statements.
Yeah.
And we've arrived at it's a personal choice.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To have personal statements, I am sort of a little bit more broad, going to work on it for sure. And I guess once this happens, I will have more confidence in other areas, like the unknown. You're very clear about what you're communicating when you're meeting people, right? So we've got collection of data through self-assessments we've all shared. And again, they'll be linked for you to see which one is going to resonate more with you. And then what do you do after you collect the data? You're going to get some clarity.
Yeah, you synthesize it and
Right.
you get your clarity on what exactly you want to achieve.
Yeah.
Running it by maybe a trusted advisor, like your trusted board, our personal board, your inner circle, whatever you will call these people, people that maybe know you a little bit and can give you some honest feedback in terms of, where they think you're at.
And our hope is that you'll have the confidence once this is all put together to go out and share it, like you said, with your family so that they know what you're doing, your friends, and then out into the market, essentially, for your career development.
Yeah.
Yeah? Anything else that you guys want to add to that one?
No, I think that's it.
All right. So like, comment, subscribe. And then we're going to do our next episode. We'll probably focus on what to do with this statement.
Correct.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Fireside Leadership. Until next time.